Welcome to the Live with Courage podcast, the show that brings you transition tales and other guests that encourage veterans to define success for themselves. With your host, Christina Herr. Welcome to the Transition Tales, a Live with Courage podcast. I am your host, Christina Herr. Today, our guest is retired Sergeant Major Jose Barreiro. Welcome to the podcast, Jose. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, and appreciate you having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So I'm not going to go into the before military career because we all have a story. But joined the Army, enlisted when I was still in high school. I was in my junior year of high school, was delayed entry through my entire senior year. Went active in July of 1999, so before the war started. And from there, I joined as an infantryman, went to basic training, one station unit training. So for infantry, it's just 16 straight weeks of basic training. We get advanced combat skills. And then from there, went to airborne school and what was called RIP back then, the Ranger Indoctrination Program, and did 9 years in 1st Ranger Battalion, 8 combat deployments with them. Went on to be a Ranger instructor in Swamp Bays in Florida, Ranger School. And then from there, I transitioned into the conventional Army forces, where essentially I just kind of carried out what we call, or what's called Abrams Charter, where people from within Ranger Regiment kind of go out to the big Army and share what we've learned and our knowledge with them. Went through that process, served 2 years in the Old Guard as a first sergeant at Arlington National Cemetery. Then from there, did my final combat deployment with 82nd Airborne Division and retired as a sergeant major from the SFAC, working at the big Force Com building at Fort Bragg.
Wow, that is a very interesting career path. How was your transition from the Army? Because you've been out for a while now, haven't you?
I've been out for just over a year.
Okay.
Actually. So my transition was a little unconventional. I made the sergeant major list the day that I had my first neck surgery. Had surgery, essentially, it came down to they were going to have to med board me, or I was going to have neck surgery to see if they could fix the issue and keep me in. I waited a little too long to have neck surgery, so it didn't really take. I ended up having to have a second one, and they had to med board me due to losing function in some of my upper body. So being able to meet physical requirements was going to be near impossible, or extremely difficult for me. And I couldn't wear a kit or a helmet because of the strain on my neck. Since then, I've had 2 neck fusions and 2 lower spine surgeries. But I did make it to 20 years, made the rank of sergeant major. And since they started the med board process on me, it's different once you hit that 20-year mark and they decide to medically retire you. Because if you hit 20 years and then they medically retire you as opposed to a conventional retirement, you're entitled to your medical disability, your VA disability, and your full pension. So luckily for me, since I was able to hit that 20-year mark before they started the process on me, I'm able to collect my full military pension along with my VA disability.
So that helped with a little bit of financial security and take some stress off of you, I'm assuming.
Absolutely. I make about the same, if not even just a little bit more right now than I did while I was still active duty, between the VA and my pension. And something for a lot of people to take into consideration is if you make it to the 20-year mark and they retire and you hit conventional retirement status, if you're medically retired and they can tie at least 50% of your disability or if you're over 50% disabled through the VA, and they can tie at least 50% of that to being combat related, you don't pay any taxes on your pension either. So I get my VA disability and my military pension completely tax free. I don't pay taxes on any of it.
Well, that's really awesome that that benefit is afforded to you. How other than, the fact that you were able to know that you're going to be financially secure, I'm assuming that going through that transition had to have been somewhat difficult for you, because it sounds like you weren't ready to get out.
Uh, so the thing is a lot of times we think that we're ready. I had said on a number of occasions that I was ready, that I was going to submit my retirement paperwork, and then I made the sergeant major list, and I was like, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm going to stay in. Like always, you get a half decent bonus, reenlistment bonus offer, or you get promoted, and it changes your mind. It wasn't until, and again, I still was like, well, if I retire, I retire. It wasn't until the medical side said you absolutely cannot keep doing this anymore that I was like, wait, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I really don't know if I'm ready, because at that point it wasn't my choice anymore. It was theirs. So I had some emotional discard there, but it was, I tell people a lot of times, especially those of us who stay in for so long, we have a hard time sometimes coming to grips with whether or not we did enough during our time in service. Am I ready to get out? Did I leave a good enough mark? And we spend so much time looking forward to the next mission that we never have an opportunity to reflect on everything that we've done and everything that we've been a part of. And it took a couple of people saying, hey, look, you need to look at what you've already accomplished, and who all you were able to influence and help come up through the ranks. That will help you out. And when I look back on all the missions that I've done, the career path that I chose, the individuals that I helped coach, teach, and mentor through the ranks, and where they're at in their careers now, I was able to come to peace with it and say, yeah, I guess I've done enough, because based on what they're accomplishing and where things are now, my service isn't really up. It's still continuing on with those people. So yeah, it made it much easier for me to swallow. And now being retired and getting to enjoy time with my family and do things that I really enjoy has made it, not that I didn't enjoy my time in service, but something different is it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
So is that kind of the path that you've chosen to take, is to kind of take a step back and spend some time with your family, and take the, what I call the retired path, at least for a little while?
No, not really. Because aside from the Army, I was also a professional mixed martial artist, competed there. I was pretty well known within the Army for my combative ventures. And since I've been out, I have now, thanks to my wife, become, I picked up a few new careers, everything from teaching marksmanship and gun safety, to tactical advising for special units. Still working in that community here and there. I've been spotlight bartending for big motorcycle rallies, something that I've been wanting to go to all the motorcycle rallies for a long time. Now I have the time to do it, and instead of spending money, I'm making money doing it. So that's been fun. And I'm even been on the cover of a number of romance novels over the
Wow.
past couple of years. So that's been another interesting venture.
So you said thanks to your wife. So it sounds like your wife kind of knows you pretty well, and she's very supportive and kind of
Absolutely.
pushes you to keep having a purpose. in your life. And I think that's amazing. You mentioned, of course, you don't want to hear somebody else telling you what you can and can't do and things like that. That challenge, what other challenges do you think you faced through your transition, maybe over the last year, or maybe just in the initial phases of it?
Well, the big thing is when you spend so much time doing one thing, you kind of go crazy when you're out on your own trying to figure out. It's like trying to figure out what you want to do when you grow up all over again. Uh, so that's kind of why I'm bouncing all over the place, is trying to figure out really where my niche is and where I really want to spend the rest of my days. I guess the question is what am I having difficulty with in transition, right?
Yeah, like what do you think another big challenge that you faced, either in the early
Um,
days or now?
I'd say right now is they say that when you slow down is when things really start falling apart. I've had a few surgeries since my transition, and it seems like every time I pump the brakes a little bit, something else hurts. So right now for me, it's accepting that there's some things that I just can't physically do anymore, like fighting professionally. It kills me because I've got buddies that I've trained or that I'm still currently helping train. They're doing great things in that community, but I can't personally compete at that level anymore. And then without getting political, watching some of those things that are going on right now and knowing that it's not my place to be there with those people anymore, and that I can't. I mean, I've still got some that reach out to me for advice and talk to me and stuff, but I'm not there on the ground with them anymore. So that's kind of a hard thing.
Oh, I bet. I didn't want to bring that up. I'm actually kind of glad you brought it up, even if it was just very briefly. Matter of fact, I got off the phone with my dad right before I got on this podcast, and it's bothering him. He's a Vietnam veteran. Um, so I think a lot of us are feeling that, some more so than others. So if you had advice for anyone that is currently going through transition or about to go through transition, what advice would you give them?
The big advice for I would have for the lower enlisted or younger people that are getting out, I got that the military is not for everybody. I would say if you don't like what you're doing, give give something else one more try. Switch units, change jobs, try something there before you get out. But also take advantage of the benefits that are there. Get your degree, take the courses. I've seen too many of the soldiers that I had my units that said, "Oh, I'm going to get out. I'm going to go to college, and My parents said that I could stay with them." Well, yeah. I mean, your parents, your parents are that's a temporary thing. If you think that your parents are going to let you stay at home for another 4 years while you go to college and not pay any bills or anything, you're probably mistaken. They'll help you get on your feet, but they're not going to carry you through your college career. Give Just because you don't like your first duty station doesn't mean you won't like your second or your first unit or your first job. Give different things a try before you decide to get out. And if you do decide to get out after that, make sure that you have a plan in place. Save money, because too many of them think that they're going to get out and just start a business. Because of VA benefits, they're going to be able to just get out and somebody's going to help them out. Not the case. Too many. There's a lot of loan offices out there and banks that want to help veterans, but especially the young ones, you've got to have some kind of skin in the fight. And if you don't have a substantial amount of money set aside to start whatever business it is that you want to start, people aren't just going to give you loans. They want 10, 15, 20% down up front out of your own pocket to go towards those businesses. Otherwise, they're completely financing the whole thing. And where's the risk to you? So that was one thing when I was going through the Boost to Business program in in transition, was that a lot of them in the program that were junior enlisted realized real quick that their plan to get out and start a business wasn't realistic. And some of them just stopped showing up to the course because they realized that some of them even went back and re-enlisted, and some of them told us they were taking that bonus and setting it aside to be able to start their business when they did decide to get out. So if you're not planning way in advance to take that kind of route, then you're ill prepared getting out. You're probably going to end up working full time at some mediocre job somewhere, paying bills and not going to school because mom and dad got used to having their own house to themselves without you there. And they don't mind supporting you for a little bit, but it's a means to an end. It's not meant to be a long-term 4-year thing. And when you're working full time and you're supporting a family, especially if you've got kids or a wife or a husband, you can't afford to be a full-time student and not work. So unfortunately, a lot of times you end up working those jobs full time and never accomplishing that degree. So that would be my advice is take advantage of the benefits while you're in. Set aside the money if you plan on getting out, so that you can support yourself and you'll have that money to go towards whatever business it is that you're wanting to start. Also, if you pick the job, your first enlistment that doesn't directly transition or translate something that you can do outside, take that second enlistment and pick a job that gives you a trade that's going to pay you well once you get out. If you were infantry or EOD or something like that, chances are you're not going to step right into a contractor job making $20,000 a month. You probably want to find something like communications or counter intel or something that's going to, if those are options for you that are going to give you something once you're out.
Wow, that's some really good advice, and some forward thinking that a lot of service members don't do while they're in the military. I know I didn't think forward. I was like, I'm going to make this a career and retire. And I had no idea what I was going to do. And then, I ended up getting out at my 11-year mark and had no idea what I was going to do.
The benefit for me or anybody that's drawing full retirement once you get out is that we do have financial stability. We don't necessarily have to work depending on where you live. Like if I chose to stay in the DC area, yeah, I was gonna be working because I had to, because it's high cost of living there. But living here in the Smoky Mountains where I am, cost of living is pretty cheap. I live pretty comfortably off of just my pension and disability. So but not only that, if you have a pension getting out, those loan companies that if you're wanting to start a business are more apt to help fully retired people because they know that you have financial stability. They know that your business isn't going to have to cover the business and your everyday living expenses, your mortgage and everything else, because they know that you have money to take care of everything else, and that the business money is going to be there for the business, not necessarily for you to live off of. So.
Yeah, there is definitely a difference in transition for those that retire and those that separate. Definitely. I really appreciate the time that you've spent on this podcast with me, sharing your transition story, sharing your advice for others. I wish you well in the amazing endeavors that I think that you have ahead of you. Do you have any final words to share with the audience?
Just keep your head up. Don't give up on anything, whether it's your career in the military or your endeavors outside. Just grind. Don't expect anything to be given to you, though, especially young people. To me, if y'all are too used to things just kind of being handed to you, especially if you're only 19, 20, 21 years old and you're getting out, you haven't experienced enough of adulthood to understand that good things come with a grind. The more you grind, the more there's going to be for you later in life. For me, I I grounded out for 20 plus years, not just with the Army, but with physical fitness, mixed martial arts, and everything else. I busted my butt. I didn't sleep much for 20 years, but I'm able to genuinely enjoy my life at the age of 40 years old because of how much time I put into setting myself up for the future at a younger age. So people say enjoy your youth. I say enjoy the back end when your body's not there to cooperate with you as much and your children are coming of age where you can go and enjoy things with them and do things with them. My children are about to be 17, 18, and 19, and I'm going to concerts with them. We go out to dinner together. I'm starting to have to start planning weddings and stuff, and I'm around for all that, and I can afford all of that because of how much I ground things out when I was younger. So I'd say just that grind until you can't anymore, until you achieve whatever goal it is that you were looking to achieve, and then set another one.
That is awesome advice.